We drove inside and inside and inside some forest. And that's when we began to see something is off here. That's when your heart begins to pound.
None of them knew what was waiting out there in that bush. If they had, not one of them would have gone. Mazzino certainly wouldn't have, because that became a night he would never forget.
That's probably one of those days that you never forget in your life.
But to understand how Mazzino ended up carrying a dying man in his car at 4 in the morning, you have to understand who he was before that night. A boy from a decent home. A boy with dreams. A boy who simply wanted to belong.
Yeah, my childhood was very beautiful, a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. You know, I came from I would say, nominal Christian home. Growing up, my parents were not extraordinarily strong Christians as such. They went to church. We went to an Anglican church, Orthodox church at the time. And so, you know, we were the type of Sunday church. But my father was a politician. He was a businessman. And, you know, worked with the government for a while. He was the chief whip of the UPN, the National Assembly. And my mother was an educator. She rose up to be eventually a director of education in Lagos State. So I had a very decent and relatively strict upbringing with my siblings, 7 other siblings. It was a lot of fun. We traveled a lot. My parents took us abroad, so we were always traveling and so on and so forth. Went to federal government colleges. In those colleges, we got to mix with all manner of Nigerians from all parts of the world. So I kind of call myself a detribalized person. I usually don't even know where people come from in Nigeria. I just got used to seeing everybody as one.
Mazzino had everything. The family, the status, even a car by the time he got to university. On the surface, it looked like enough. But beneath it all, he was searching for something harder to name. A sense of belonging, of truly feeling among people who saw him. The moment he stepped onto that campus, something was already waiting for him. He fell in with the wrong crowd, violent, dangerous, and what followed changed everything. So how did it come to this?
I mean, I've given it a lot of thought over the years, and quite simply, I think peer pressure. Peer pressure, you know, the need to want to belong. At a very young age, you're very impressionable. Especially in those adolescent ages where you are 17, 18, 19, you think you know everything, but you don't. And getting to the university, first time you are truly free, you're truly able to do and undo in quotes. If you fall into the wrong crowd, you will have yourself to blame. And mine was that kind of a thing. Unfortunately, I don't know if I fell into the wrong crowd or I was looking for the wrong crowd. You know, so I think there's a dimension of peer pressure where you find what you're looking for. And I think that was my story. I wanted to belong. I wanted to be one of those popular guys. I wanted to be one of those people who made a lot of money. You know, I had a car while I was in school, and in those days, this was in the 80s, mid to late 80s, most people didn't have cars in school. I think in our university, I was in the University of Ibadan at the time, I don't think up to 5 of us had cars. Maybe about 5 of us in the whole university, thousands of people, you know. So it's not like today where it's commonplace. So I was, in quote, quite popular to a certain degree, and I wanted to fortify myself. One thing leads to the other. You want more money, and sometimes these guys come and they promise you, oh, we're going to do business and we're going to get you connections, and when you graduate from school, you will know everybody. They will mention all the names of all the who is who in government and politics. They're all part of us. So you want to really, be a part of this kind of a thing. So it's a lot of deceit too, because eventually I knew, as I got involved, I knew that there was a lot of deceit involved. They tell you all kinds of things just to lure you in. And another thing I found out is that one of the things they did was that they targeted people who they felt their parents were well-to-do in society, so that if there were ever a problem, and they had a police problem or a problem with the law, running against the law, these people's parents will have to come and intervene. So that's why a lot of, in quote, big men's children are usually targeted in these kinds of settings. There's two parts to it. You get attracted to what you also desire. So there's a peer pressure element to it. You want to be that wannabe, So I guess I saw a few of my friends, a few people that I thought, oh, I like to hang out with this crowd, only to discover that many of them were actually in the confraternity. And so, of course, one thing led to the other. They told us, and they will whisper, look, we're part of something. It doesn't start with we're a confraternity. It starts with we're part of something that is big, that, if you're a part of us, you can change the world, you can do this. I think I can't blame it just on people, but me, myself, I wanted to shine, and I now got myself attracted to the group of people that were already in that type of direction in life.
Mazzino is lured in by something that looks cool on the surface, promising even. But beneath it, the truth is far darker than any of them realized. It doesn't come to him all at once, not until the initiation. They didn't know exactly what was going to happen. None of them knew what was waiting out there in that bush. If they had, not one of them would have gone. Mazzino certainly wouldn't have, because that became a night he would never forget.
Honestly, that's probably one of those days that you never forget in your life. It's, as a I was very adventurous. And if I tell you that after a while, I really didn't, I knew kind of what I was getting into, but I didn't know it was going to be that violent, so to speak. To me, it was more of a secret business group, a secret group of people who were movers and shakers. And I just like the idea of that secrecy, where, people do things behind the scenes, and they accomplish things, behind the scenes. But, we already knew that there was going to be an initiation. They told us about it. If you wanted to join, there'll be an initiation. I can't remember whether we paid money or not. It's such a long time now, so I really can't. But we did know there'll be an initiation. We didn't know what it was going to be about. None of us. We just thought maybe we're going to have a meeting somewhere. So this part was part of where the deception is. And I want to use this opportunity to talk to younger men today who may be in universities or in all of these things. You need to be very careful, because that's how it starts. It starts like, it's just a game. It's just, many of us could have died. The initiation, people died during the initiation. Is that violent? Is that vicious? I don't think if any of us knew what we were going to meet during the initiation, we would have gone for it. We really underestimated it, because we were taken into the middle. I had a car, so I went to some people. Everybody mobilizes cars. They tell you that day that there's a regalia, what we call the regalia, something you had to wear. Everybody had to wear blue jeans, I think blue or black jeans. I think it was blue jeans. and a black shirt, a t-shirt. You had to wear a black shirt. And so usually on those days, you can even tell because many of them are wearing the same things at once all over the university. That means there's something happening. In our case, anybody you saw that period, or almost anybody wearing blue jeans and black shirt, just know that something was going. Many people will not come out and they go straight to the wherever. I call it the coven now though, but we go to where we had our meetings, and it's in the middle of a bush. We drove inside and inside. I don't know who finds those things, but we drove inside and inside and inside some forest. And that's when we began to see something is off here. That's when your heart begins to pound, because you go inside, it never ends. And we come out, and then you still walk inside and inside into bush parts, into forest, and you get to an open place that was intentionally cleared for this purpose. It was intentionally created for this purpose. You can see, and then there's a bonfire. There were already people there waiting for us. A big bonfire right in the middle. Big. I'm talking of probably 20 feet in diameter. 20 foot bonfire, blazing. If you shout, if you cry, if you say anything, nobody will hear you. If you shoot a gun, you'll barely be heard, because we're away from civilization. Up till this day, I don't even know where that place is, to be honest with you. So, and of course, there begun the horrors that we went through. There was a lot of violence, there was a lot of degradation, we were made to strip naked, and so just picture all of that. It's just a mess.
He survived that night. But surviving wasn't the same as escaping, because once you were in, there was no door-marked exit. The only way through, or so he thought, was deeper into it. Deeper until he would be the one calling the shots, and finally put an end to all of it. And deeper he went, until he was no longer just a member. He was finally chosen to be the next Don. But this came with its own baggage.
We would always plan. I had one particular friend, he's still a good friend of mine, and, we were always planning, how are we going to get out of this? How are we going to, come out of this? We'll have secret meetings. Sometimes we'll have meetings even in a hotel, and we'll come like an association of, business people trying to learn something, but it's a private meeting. It was just, put it this way, it's not worth it. It wasn't worth it. They tell you, it's going to help you for business and all of that, but at what cost? At what cost? That's the thing. God is going to bless you anyways. God is going to bless us anyways. Your star, your destiny reduces, it doesn't increase. Your star diminishes, it doesn't. I know better now. So, and that's why I can say boldly to any young person out there, you don't want to get involved with this. You want Jesus Christ. You want Christ to come into your life, and He will lead you to where you're supposed to go. He will make you be who you are supposed to be. And so, so we will strategize and plan how we're going to get out. Eventually, we said, look, the best way to do it is to become the head of this group, and then after that we'll just silence everything. And that was what led to us eventually, interestingly, it's like as if the devil hears you, because after a year or so, I was approached by some members outside and also inside and said, look, we want to make you the Don. We want to make you the Don. We pushed to become the Don. And so we now have to have a meeting. And this one again was in the bush. Again, major meeting. And this time people came from far and wide. We had people from Ife, from Ahmadu Bello University, from Unilag, from LASU, from I mean, all over. People we had never even seen before. And I'm like, God, what am I doing? You know? And, again, it's called a coup. In this case, it was not a peaceful handover, so they call it a coup. And so during the coup, the Don, the current Don at the time, refused to hand over the symbol of leadership. We called it the scroll, that he had everybody's blood in it. He refused to hand it over, so it became a nightmare experience for him. Oh my. Some of the guys, particularly those from the other universities, they have been there for a long time. There were even some we called uncles. So they had graduated from the university and they were coming for the meeting. So people go around this whole place. And the beating this guy got, I don't think some of us, as debaters as we were, have ever experienced anything like that. I think, the initiation will always be in my mind, but that particular day is the worst, most visceral torture I saw. I saw this guy, and even those of us, all of us that were on the campus in the University of Ibadan at the time, we're all looking at ourselves, what's going on here? Because this guy refused to refuse. We're even begging him, just give this thing, is in your father's property. And he refused. And they tortured, they beat him, they stabbed him and stabbed him. It was, it was bad. So he was practically led for dead. And so myself and another fellow, again, he's still alive and he knows himself. We both decided after everybody had left that we can't leave this guy here to die. We have to take him to the hospital no matter what. But then there was the fear that what if the police arrest us? We are going to be the ones to suffer all the... I personally had to put my foot down. I said, look, I'm not going to leave him here. I can't live with my conscience. I can't live with my... It was just... my goodness. Anyways, we eventually picked him, carried him in my car. And this was about 4 a.m. or thereabouts, if I remember correctly. And we came up with a story that if anybody stopped us on the road or whatever, we'll simply say that he was an armed robbery victim. And maybe he was mobbed, we saw him and we picked him up and we wanted to take him to the hospital. And we noticed he was still alive. So we whispered to him, look, don't corroborate our story, or if not, we'll just leave you here. Better make sure. He was still managing to go. He was bad. It was bad. So anyways, we finally got him to a hospital. We just found one big hospital we could see and told them we have an emergency. We saw somebody who was attacked by robbers and blah, 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 and that's how we took him in. And the shock of our lives was that we managed to get phone number of his parents. Those were the days that you had to use landline to call. And so the hospital provided us with a number and we phoned his dad to say, look, your son has been involved in an armed robbery or whatever, and he's been beat up terribly and so on. And so it was burnt. Part of his body was burnt. You don't want to know how many times he was stabbed. It was just mess. It was gory.
Mazzino thought they had gotten away with it. They told themselves they had done the right thing. They'd taken him to the hospital. But then the police started asking questions. And before they knew what was going on, they had tracked Mazzino down.
I was the first to be arrested because I had a car. When I drove to Sabo, parked my car, and I was eating the salad and what have you, this was about 4 days after. I think 4 days is in my mind. It was about 4 days after. The next thing I saw was, then we used to have these 504 station wagon cars. They just swooped all over us, all over me, and blocked the whole place. Came police with guns, like it was not a joke. And then pointing guns at me. They were calling me Ozono. I said, I'm not Ozono. You are Ozono. That's how they bundled me out of the place. It was such a scary experience. They bundled me out, and took me to the police station. At the time, there were two people who knew about what was going on, because most people in the campus did not even know that I was in a fraternity at the time. Most did not know. But my roommate knew, who happens to be a pastor now, you know. He knew. And then I had a girlfriend at the time. She knew everything, and she was so against it. She knew the whole story. I told her everything that happened, you know, and so on and so forth. So when she didn't see me, she had to come looking for me. Police, because the police took me to an undisclosed location, you know, and so they got me. Of course, I knew then, just deny. I denied. I didn't know anything about this. That they would beat me, and I would still not accept it. You know, I just wanted as much as possible to get the message to my parents, my dad especially, and you know, it was just, they would threaten me that if this guy dies, you're going to die also, that we're going to execute you in a firing squad. So that even made it more scary, and made me realize that, look, you know, you have to, you're not gonna, I could never admit to that at that time, you know. So eventually they threw me in with hardened criminals. You know, when you face those type of things, you know what happened? I started praying for the first time. I started praying. I started saying, God, if you save me from this, I'll never tell a lie. Even a lie, I'll never tell a lie in my whole life again.
In that cell, surrounded by men whose crimes dwarfed his own, he did something he had not done in 18 months. He prayed, not a religious prayer, not a church prayer, a desperate prayer. The prayer of a man who had finally hit a wall. Now he realized what he had done to himself. Cultism was never a good call, and now he knew better.
Wasn't worth it. They tell you, oh, it's going to help you for business and all of that, but at what cost? At what cost? That's the thing. God is going to bless you anyways. God is going to bless us anyways. You know, your star, your destiny reduces, it doesn't increase. Your star diminishes, it doesn't. I know better now. So, and that's why I can say boldly to any young person out there, you don't want to get involved with this. You want Jesus Christ. You want Christ to come into your life, and it will lead you to where you're supposed to go. He will make you be who you are supposed to be.
The cell doors opened. His parents intervened. The boy that was beaten within an inch of his life survived. And just like that, Mazzino was free. Free to board a plane to England. Free to start over. Free to bury what had happened in Nigeria under a new postcode, a new university, a new identity. He thought he had escaped, but London had a different kind of darkness waiting for him.
And I didn't smoke Indian hemp until I got to London. My dad disowned me and I had to go back to London. I had nowhere to stay. I started sleeping in the streets. I had a car, but the heater in the car was not working. I started wandering the streets of London. I would eat banana that people have thrown on the street, on the road. That was what I was eating. Get your copy of When Mothers Pray and discover my unforgettable salvation story. Before I turned 21, I was completely lost and marked for destruction. But my mother refused to give up. Her relentless prayers became the weapon that rewrote my destiny and pulled me from the darkness. This book is living proof that no child is too far gone for a God who answers prayer. Parents, don't surrender. Heaven moves when mothers pray. Order yours today at mazinoabraham.com.
Looking for a quick boost of spiritual encouragement? Make sure to watch Verse Inspirations right here on this YouTube channel. With new devotional episodes dropping every Monday and Friday, it's the perfect way to build your faith, find clarity, and stay spiritually grounded throughout your week. Also, if you have a powerful testimony of God's transforming grace, we want to hear from you. Share your story on Mess2Message by emailing info@mazinoabraham.com. And finally, if you are an experienced Christian counselor with a heart to guide and support fellow believers, we'd love to connect. Send an email to support@mazinoabraham.com.